2012 at the Kitsap County Courthouse on a typically rainy northwestern day, and we're going to come in here and see the Ground Zero activists who are about to go on trial for blocking the missile base.
I believe 4 people are going to go into court today, and then 6 more tomorrow. So whatever happens today will probably be the same for tomorrow. So it's kind of like a preview of coming attractions, if you will.
4 peace activists were arrested Monday, August 8, 2011, while attempting to block the entrance to the U.S. Navy's West Coast Trident nuclear submarine base. The Trident submarine base at Bangor, just 20 miles from Seattle, contains the largest concentration of operational nuclear weapons. Each of the 8 submarines at Bangor contains 24 Trident missiles. Each of those missiles contains up to 8 independently targetable warheads, and each nuclear warhead has an explosive power between 100 and 475 kilotons, up to 32 times the Hiroshima bomb. Members and supporters of Ground Zero Center for Nonviolent Action in Poulsbo, Washington, commemorated the anniversaries of the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki by vigiling at the new main gate entrance to Naval Base Kitsap Bangor, while some protesters blocked the entrance during the early morning rush hour on Monday, August 8, 2011, symbolically closing the base. Demonstrators lined the side of the roadway, many holding signs and banners calling for the abolition of nuclear weapons. At 6:45 a.m., 4 participants attempting to block the base entrance roadway using an inflatable, full-scale Trident missile. Ground Zero peacekeepers had already entered the roadway to safely stop traffic, after which the protesters lifted the missile over the barricades and laid it in the street. Just came out of the courtroom. What did you see?
Well, I saw a lot of legalese and heard a lot of legalese. And basically, the moral issues of destruction of the earth was really not discussed. As you may know, the Kitsap Bangor nuclear base is the 3rd largest compound of nuclear weapons, U.S. being first, Russia second, and Kitsap being 3rd with nuclear weapons. If an accident should happen, it'd be like Fukushima. There would be no escape route. Children would be affected, birds, animals, and that danger has to be made aware. We have to know what can happen, and accidents happen. And that's why the people who are here today have that strong conviction that we know what has happened before. We have used nuclear weapons before. We know what happened to Japan. And the idea that why these arrests were taken on Nagasaki and Hiroshima Day, because we know it has happened before. We even talk about nuclear weapons today, either with North Iraq, Iran, and if you're talking about it, what's the possibility of actually using nuclear weapons? So although all the issues were legal about traffic and sidewalks, the main issues of nuclear weapons were not discussed, and that's what's so important. We should not have any more nuclear weapons, no nuclear plants that are near earthquake faults, whether in California, Indian Point, Yankee, or 3 Mile Island, or Chernobyl. These are very dangerous element of plutonium. They destroy everything, including life on Earth. So as a Buddhist and as a believer in Jesus, we should not kill, we should take care of our Earth and protect all of us on this little, small, fragile planet. Thank you.
How do you feel going into court tomorrow?
You know, the whole of what we're trying to do in terms of being faithful to a sense that human life is sacred, and to continue to bring to the public attention that we as a body politic continue to accept the unacceptable. We are apparently without concern or conscience about the fact that we have developed and deployed a system that very clearly, from the good science that's been done, could put the entire human race, life on the planet, at very severe risk, not necessarily for being eliminated altogether, but for being reduced to prehistoric levels of civilization, the absence of civilization. And so the question is, what do we do? Many of us have been involved for decades trying to bring this to the attention of public officials, of the public, of the community of conscience represented by religion and other folks of conscience. And the inertia of the war machine just continues to dominate the decision-making about the deployment of these weapons. We were hopeful that President Obama was going to bring some sanity to this. He clearly understands that nuclear weapons are a huge threat to humankind, to life on Earth, and yet he has acceded politically to the apparently unbendable will of the military-industrial complex, because the Trident system, which is a doomsday system by design, has become now the centerpiece of United States imperial projection into the rest of the world. The Trident system puts at risk every single city in the world on a 15 to 30 minute notice, given the decision to launch a weapon. This is just totally unacceptable. I understand that we may be like Don Quixote, tilting at windmills. For me, it's become a combination of a choreographed dance and a deep and heartfelt prayer that I am never in a position to have to say, I told you so.
Anything you'd like to say about your experience today, Brenda?
I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've been with Ground Zero for probably 20 years, and I really respect the dedication of everyone who's working towards this.
Thank you for your dedication.
Have you paid your fine already?
Yes.
Well done. Thank you. Thoughts on the interactions, the judges'
Clearly,
decision?
the judge allowed people to express their own reasons. I thought one of the most interesting things is that he says these cases are the most interesting to him. He has all kinds of cases that he gets on the bench. But over 30 years on the bench, these that relate to people who bear witness with their bodies and their minds and their hearts are the ones he likes the best, even though he has to understandably go by the law that exists, So that was the most moving thing for me.
Thank you. Well, let's see.
Tomorrow, we will not need to argue any of this stuff about a cross or a pond or sidewalks or anything. We will talk totally about why we did what we did.
Is this some kind of double indemnity? No, actually, that's wonderful because
we'll
today at least you did get to have your say, but tomorrow...
Tomorrow it'll be totally about the horror of what's going on in that base and why people need to stand against nuclear weapons, and that's what we'll talk about tomorrow.
How long was the trial today? How long were you in there?
We were in there for 3 hours.
And so what were the main issues that the court had to settle?
Well, the court was talking about 3 things. We were charged with this infraction about walking along the road and whether we should have walked on the sidewalk or whether we should have walked facing the traffic. And so we actually argued those issues, and we didn't win on that one. But we also talked about why we did what we did, and that was the important part, and that was heard, I believe, and I hope will be in the article in the paper, not to mention whatever might go onto YouTube. So that's what's important, that the world thinks about, that people think about these weapons and why they are so dangerous and why we need to eliminate them. And that's what we'll keep on doing at Ground Zero, is bringing that to people in any way we can until they're gone.
Hear, hear.
Amen.
Amen. People said.
Mike's coming up.
The trial. Well, I like $25 were less than 56. You know, 25 is better than
It's a
$56.
statement in of itself.
Yeah, really. I like this judge. I've seen him in court before. I think he understands why we're here, and I think that those 4 officers, I'm sure we were a tolerance tester for them, but I think they may have learned something. And there was a reporter here, and people like Leonard are going to, spread this around the globe.
Oh, yeah.
So it's just what we do, and we'll just keep doing it. Like the judge said, we've been doing it for 30 years.
That he did stress that, what Ann had said about 30 years.
Yeah, that's true.
Very good. Thank
You
you.
guys have safe passage going home. We'll see you at Martin Luther King Day. Huh?
Indeed.
All right, good.
Be there.
Wow.
Oh, any thoughts for the folks back home? Did you get to say what you wanted to say?
No, of course not. But I thought that the judge was thoughtful in the way he rendered his decision. I thought he did let us talk about our motives to as much an extent as he felt comfortable with, and that was okay. I got to say a few magic words like Nuremberg principles and nuclear annihilation. So I would call it a success. Thank you.
Thank you. All in all, a good day.
Did you pay your $25?
I paid the $25.
Very good. He's not going into the Who's Gal.
What a bargain.
Not really.
It goes to a good cause. It goes to fund the county. So.
Yeah, clean up those sidewalks.
That's right.